everybody. Welcome back to Tea with Honey. I'm your host, Raven Honey, and today joining me is my very good friend and coworker, Adora. Hi, Adora. How are you?
I'm okay, hanging in there outside.
Yeah, Adora's speaking to us from outdoors, but it's probably great. I mean, it's like hot, like inside. I don't know if it's hot outside. Is it hot outside?
It's actually much nicer out here than it is inside my apartment.
Yeah, same. I wish I could record outside, but I can't take my whole like computer and microphone out there, unfortunately. I wish I could. But Adora, I am really excited to have you on the podcast today because most of the people I've had on the podcast before are like friends that I've known for like years or like family members who I just like knew would do it. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of running out of like longtime friends and I need new guests. And I know all these interesting people, you included, but it's kind of hard for me to bring up like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? So I'm glad that I was able to bring that up with you and that you agreed and we get to talk today. So I'm super excited to have you.
I'm very excited. I've never been on a podcast before.
Well, this will be exciting then, because I don't think you even knew that I had a podcast until recently.
I definitely did not.
That's okay. That's fair. I have a whole YouTube channel, and now you're going to have to look at it to listen to this podcast. So, anyway, today, well, first I wanted to say my camera is off so you can't see me, and the podcast itself is audio only, but for you in the audience who doesn't know, I did my nails yesterday. And for the longest time, I've had like these really long, sparkly purple nails to match my hair because it's purple right now. And I always get like compliments on my nails and whatever, but I just got so tired of acrylics because they're so long, it kind of feels like your fingers are being capped because you don't have access to your real nails, which is like a weird feeling. So I took them all off yesterday. And I saw like this cool video of like someone doing someone else's nails where they put like red around like the cuticle and it kind of looked like the nails were bleeding. And I thought that was really cool. So I did it myself. And then now my nails, like I did the same thing. I did white nail polish and then I did red nail polish like around the nail bed and the cuticle and kind of brushed it out. So now it looks like my nails are bleeding. And it's kind of like a gross, disgusting, like zombie kind of look, which I like. I don't think I'm going to get compliments on them like I normally do on my nails. But I feel like girls, like we're allowed to be disgusting if we want to. You know what I mean? Like we're allowed to be weird and gross. And that's like a fashion thing in and of itself, you know? Like a kind of like alternative sort of style. And I don't know, I just don't subscribe to the idea that like if you're a girl you have to be girly and feminine. You know what I mean?
I can piggyback on that. When you were talking about acrylics the whole time, I was just like, ooh. I had them one singular time and I immediately took them off the next day. I hated it so much.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. But the reason I bring that up is because you and me, I would call us alternative. I would definitely call us like alt sort of fashion people, like in a broad definition of alt. Like we're girls, quote unquote, who are not like girly, like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like pink, I love purple, but like pink and like flowers and stuff, all that stuff's great. But then there's like this whole other like fashion movement of like the emo goth kids and like just alternative in general if you don't really fit into that kind of category of like emo or goth or whatever. And you know, with tattoos and colored hair and piercings and stuff like that. And I feel like we belong to that, and like because of that I feel personally like I'm seen as kind of like an other when it comes to like girls and fashion, you know, kind of like weird. Like I personally have always been like the weird kid, and I kind of like gave into that when I was older. And I'm just kind of wondering like what your experience with that sort of thing is, like being an alternative person, and how that started for you and how you kind of view yourself.
I guess the way that it started was in middle school. That's kind of when I started exploring more of the alternative side of things, because up until that point, my mother was very like, I'm going to dress you in pinks and browns, and you're going to wear complementary outfits with your sisters, and I'm going to push all this feminine stuff on you, and you're going to hate every second of it. But I'm going to pretend that I don't know that until you grow into your own person. So then when I started to grow into my own person, it was all blacks, grays, skinny jeans. I found emo bands, and that really influenced my style for the longest time. I think I've kind of moved past the whole emo band thing, but
I haven't. I love Fall Out Boy.
I'm still really into like Pierce the Veil, but I have moved past like Black Girl Brides or my Sleeping with Sirens or like the old school, fangirl emo boy bands.
Right. Yeah, well, I feel like it's interesting that you bring that up, that like you feel like that sort of femininity was kind of like forced on you in the beginning. So maybe this was kind of your way to like break away from that and rebel and kind of find yourself and be your own person. I feel very similar in that being kind of like a quote unquote weird kid growing up, and this is a subject that we can delve into more later in the podcast or at another time, just the idea of growing up as the quote unquote weird kid, because everything I did I felt like was normal, was me, but because I was like loud and I had like a different sense of like fashion and my interests were kind of like strange compared to like the other kids, I was kind of like forced into this other category that I chose to embrace. I could have kind of like conformed, and there was a minute there when I was much younger where I tried to look like the other girls. I grew out my hair, I straightened it, I tried to do like pretty things with makeup. For a long time I hated makeup. I love it now, but now I like to do more like alternative things with it. And, everyone had this one specific jacket, and I bought that jacket. The same shoes, I bought those shoes. And then I just kind of realized, like, what's the point of being like everybody else? That's boring. Like, where's, like, how am I going to differentiate myself and be my own person if the person I am is just wanting to be other people? So after also, I guess, middle school, because I had to wear uniforms in middle school. So I had no individuality. I mean, even then I was weird, just the way I acted. I don't really know how to describe how I was weird, just because, again, I was just being myself. And I didn't know, like, I don't know, I've always liked bugs and stuff like that. And I guess maybe that's what freaked other people out. And I was like a fat kid, so people already like made me like an other just for that. And so when I entered like high school and I really started trying to find myself, I just found that I was more comfortable the more I strayed from the norm. And that's how I kind of like came into my alternative self. I kind of figured at the time, if people are staring at me anyway, just give them something to stare at, and that's kind of where my style kind of stemmed from.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like you talked about the whole like I'm gonna wear pink, I'm gonna buy what everyone else is buying. And I actually went through a phase more recently than that where I think it was just about a year and a half ago. I tried so hard. I bought the short shorts, the crop tops, the white tennis shoes, did my hair real pretty, wore all kinds of pink, and I tried really, really, really hard because I was like, oh, maybe I just didn't like that it was forced on me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it of my own free choice, and I still hated it so much.
Yeah, at some point you just can't deny who you are anymore and what you like and what makes you comfortable. Here's another question for you. I was kind of talking about how we're both in kind of this like alternative category, which again can mean a variety of things. It doesn't mean you and I are the same, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we both have also had our own like separate experiences with like queerness, and like sexuality and gender wise. And I want to know your thoughts on kind of like if there's a connection between like queerness and like alternative style or just alternative lifestyle in general. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, in my eyes, and I don't speak for everybody when I say this, it kind of really does seem that way. But from my perspective, people who have an alternative or goth or emo style tend to be one of the most accepting groups. You don't hear about like preppy girls being like, oh my God, I'm so supportive of you and your choices. You hear that about the alt kids because they don't care how you dress, the style, the culture. It's always been like, do whatever you want as long as you're not telling me to do what you want.
Right. I mean, that just goes back to the whole conforming aspect of it, right? The people who don't conform to like I don't know, I guess traditional like gender roles, style roles, things like that. People who are outside of that tend to be, like you said, much more accepting of people who are outside the norms in a different way, like sexuality wise. I don't want anyone to tell me like how I can dress or how I can look. And I'm not saying like every like goth person is gay, but I do feel like it definitely meshes a lot where like if you are kind of outside the norm when it comes to like style, like maybe like me, like I have colored hair, and us where we have like piercings and all over like our faces and like stuff like that, that like traditionally people kind of side eye at, you know, people like us, we tend to be different in more aspects than just fashion, right? Like we're breaking away from traditions in multiple ways, and they all kind of mesh together and relate. You know, that's just how I feel. And again, I don't speak for everybody as well, but you know, I just feel like queerness and is an alternative lifestyle, right? So if you live an alternative lifestyle, you tend to kind of look the part.
Yeah. I mean, that's always what I thought, but I still get hit on by men like 20 times a day. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing I want to talk about, actually, because that's where you and me differ, because I never get hit on, ever. Like, I have girls compliment me, but I never know if it's, like, just girls being nice or what, but men, like, never, ever. Like, I've never, like, had a guy who I didn't know approach me and ask for my number or, like, compliment me really in public. I mean, I've had my hair complimented, but never like flirting, you know what I mean? Like, at least I don't think so. But I know you've told me this a couple times where like you'll go to the mall by yourself and like guys will just like approach you all day long. And I was always told, like, because I've always been kind of self-conscious. And part of this is because like I hear all my friends being like, oh yeah, guys hit on me all the time, and that literally never happens to me. So my friends and family will be like, oh, it's because of how you dress, because you wear a lot of black and you have a lot of piercings and your hair is a different color. People are intimidated by you. But that can't be true. That can't be true, because you're like the same.
I have so many tattoos. I have my lip piercings. I don't have colored hair at the moment, but usually I do. And I am constantly dressed, actually, not even like feminine blacks. It's usually like pants and a baggy t-shirt. And maybe occasionally I'll wear something a little more feminine, but it's still on that like goth emo spectrum. So I don't really know what is different between you and me that forces men to seek me out, because I'm so obviously gay and I don't want anything to do with it. But I don't know why. Maybe they're not picking you because to me, you always intimidated me a lot when I first met you. I was kind of scared to talk to you at first. So maybe it's just because you have that like intimidating aura. I don't think I have something like that. I seem like kind of a pushover because I am. But
oh my god, I literally have my face in my hands right now, like I'm laughing so hard. Because you're definitely not the first person who's like told me that. Like, I've had so many friends who were like, yeah, when I first met you, I was like so scared to talk to you. Like, you were just so intimidating. I don't know what I do, because I feel like I'm such a nice person. I don't know what I'm doing that like right off the bat everybody's scared to talk to me until you get to know me. Like, I don't know what it is.
I feel like it's the way you carry yourself more than anything, because the way a person carries themselves can really be like, oh wow, that person's really like confident, or even like sometimes that person seems mean because of their body language or the way their eyes look or the expression on their face when they're just looking away at nothing.
That's crazy, because especially because I feel like you and me, because we work together, I mentioned that we were coworkers. I'm a dog trainer. You were the dog trainer before me, and I kind of took over for you so that you could kind of work more in the store. But we can get into more animal stuff later. But I feel like you and I hit it off like immediately when we met. I would have had no idea that you were intimidated by me like at all.
Oh yeah, see, I have this really, really super fun thing that now I've been telling more people about, because I did end up mentioning to a few people at work that, hey, I am neurodivergent. I'm diagnosed with a couple of different things that make me neurodivergent. And so there's this really fun thing I can do called masking. And my masking happens to be a kind of like, I see your personality and I raise you one. Now I have your personality and now you like me.
Yeah. I'm very similar in that way. I always blamed it on me being a Libra, but maybe it's part of my neurodivergence as well, where I can kind of like adapt to different people's personalities so that all people from all sorts of different like types of personality will like me, because I can like kind of be a chameleon. But I'm curious now that we're on this subject, when did you like, first of all, was it like, did I come off as like really confident, or what was it that like intimidated you right off the bat?
I honestly just clash with people that seem to have a bit more confidence than me and seem to have a certain way they carry themselves. Again, like the way you carry yourself is with more confidence than I've ever had in any bone in my body. So that really intimidates the inner me, not the outer me. I'll play whatever part, but inner me is, I'm not confident. I second guess everything I say. And to see somebody who doesn't do all of that, I'm like, wow. Oof.
Well, first of all, I'm really good at masking as well, because I have never considered myself to be a confident person. Like, I've been self-conscious my whole life, and I just kind of walk around thinking that everybody's like staring at me and I'm doing something wrong. So it's always interesting to me. You're not the first person who's told me that I seem very confident. I'm really happy that I come off that way, because it's just so not true. And I felt not like the same, but I guess it was kind of a similar thing when I first met you. Because when I first met you, I immediately thought you were cool and I wanted to be your friend. So finding out that we had like such different like ideas about each other when we first met, but still managed to like mesh and become friends anyway, is like really interesting.
After like, right before I met you, I was going through all these, friendship problems because the last people I lived with. So it was definitely more of a like, I'm afraid to be social with anybody right now because I'm so tired of putting energy into things that kind of just spiral and end up hurting me later. So I was like, better just to fake it and be nice and be awesome and deal with the consequences later.
Yeah, totally. It's just, other people really do have like a very strong, like, I don't know, influence on our lives, I feel. Because anytime someone's like, I don't know, I feel like anytime someone like says something about me, like I'll take that on. At my last job where I worked with dogs, I felt the same way as I always do, where I was like so self-conscious. I was like, nobody likes me. But then I started making friends and they were all kind of like, yeah, I always thought you were cool. I just really wanted to hang out with you, but like you seem too cool for me. I'm glad we're hanging out. And I was like, what? What do you mean too cool? I'm like the least coolest person ever. But once they said that to me, I was like, maybe I am cool. But then on the flip side, I've definitely had a lot of people tell me differently, like when I was younger, like, oh my God, you're so weird. Are you like disabled or something? And just like horrible like stuff like, oh my God, you're fat, you're ugly, blah, blah, blah. You're so plain. And then I started to feel that way, because if everybody thinks it, it must be true. So I do think like how people treat us really has a huge influence on how we behave and feel about ourselves.
And especially in the kind of personal relationships you can get into with people, the way people talk about you in previous relationships, or rather don't talk to you about it, influences how you're going to feel about certain things for the rest of your life. I mean, it's been almost 2 years since I lived with these last people, and I still have those boundaries, those trust issues, and same thing for romantic relationships, but that's a totally different story.
Maybe we'll touch on that in a different episode. Okay, enough on that for now. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to say. Was there like a moment when you realized that like I wasn't intimidating and we could become friends? Like, was there a moment where you were like, actually, we can be friends? Like, you know what I mean?
I think it was after I stepped down officially from training and you took over training, because that stress was lifted off my shoulders and I wasn't worried so much about the other things, that I was like, okay, let's give this a real shot now. And then I was like, oh, you're really cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I liked you long before that. I thought you were cool from the moment I saw you.
I'm still not cool, but thank you.
I just tend to like drift more towards people who are like similar to me, and that, again, going back to like the alternative lifestyle kind of thing. Like anyone else who also has like piercings and tattoos and different hairstyles and stuff like that, I'm just immediately gravitated towards it because I think it's cool, so I want to look like that. So when I see other people that look like my idea of cool, I immediately want to be friends with them. So that's how I felt about you.
That makes sense. It's like when a dog sees another dog and they get really excited. I feel that way about goth people, alternative people, and gay people. So.
Yes, exactly. All three. You know, anytime I meet a gay person, specifically gay men, but gay people in general, but specifically gay men, every time I meet one, I'm like, oh, we're going to be best friends. It's not in our control. You know, I've met you, you know me now, you're going to want to be friends with me. And it's happened like every time. Like anytime I've met someone at work or like my friends' friends or like just people that I meet who are just like out gay men, always at some point they'll be like, wow, Raven, you're so cool. Like, I want to be friends with you. And I'll be like, yeah, I knew that you were going to say that. Like, gay people just love me. I don't know. But yeah, okay, so speaking of like tattoos and stuff that we've touched on a little bit, one of the main subjects that I did want to talk about today, which we're so late to the party because everybody's already talked about it. I watched a video on this recently that I'll plug by this channel called Treacle Tats, Treacle Tats. I've watched a lot of her videos and she's inspired me to make some of my own tattoo content, but she has a whole video on this. So if you want to see like photo references of what we're about to talk about, go check her out. But we want to talk about Tattoogate, which is something that started on TikTok and started with a simple fox tattoo. And Adora, I'd be really interested to hear kind of your take on this whole thing. So if you could please, for the audience, summarize Tattoogate, and then we will get into more detail.
So from my understanding, and I'm so sorry, this is when the cuss words are probably going to come out of me because the whole situation is so, it's ludicrous.
Feel free to cuss.
As somebody who is learning to tattoo, so I'm learning a lot about tattoo culture, pricing, technique, that kind of thing. So I have just a teensy bit of insight.
Right.
I saw a couple of videos and I was very lost. It was somebody talking about this tier system. And I was like, okay, maybe it's, different kinds or different styles of tattoos. That makes a lot of sense. Tattoo prices are going up. Right. But I see these tiers and it's like tier 1 is $1,500 and tier 2 is $3,000. I don't even remember the actual dollar amounts at this point. I just know that they were fucking stupid. So
right. This was an artist. This was an artist who had tiers for her drawings and how many drawings you would get and like how much money each sketch would be. And none of this money, by the way, goes towards the tattoo. It's just sketches.
Not even $1. It's you're basically paying her for an art commission, but then you're also going to pay her for a tattoo. It does not make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Very expensive for an art commission too. Like I can't think of like, unless you're building me a sculpture or painting on like a huge canvas, like a wall-sized canvas, there's no reason your art should be $1,500 or more. Because that was the lowest tier. We didn't even say the lowest tier was $1,500. Highest was like what, $4,000-$5,000? Like, are you painting my house?
It was like $4,500, but the tier system in itself is so ridiculous because tier 1 is, I'll draw this for you. And that's what you're paying for. And I'll make one change if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. Tier 2 is you get like, you get to change it like a few more times or you get 2 drawings. None of this, not even a cent is going towards the final piece on your body. Yeah. Permanently.
And it's not even a complete, from what I saw from this artist, it was not even a complete drawing. It was a sketch that gave you an idea of what the tattoo would look like. And it's like, am I going to pay $1,500 for not even a complete drawing, for just an idea of what you might do? And then I have to pay for that. Which okay, so I know you are like learning how to do tattoos and you're doing them yourself, like on yourself and on your friends. And so you're kind of learning about the industry in that way. And also you have a lot of tattoos. Me, I'm a person who is just generally very passionate about tattoos. I really like them. I have a few of them. I'm definitely going to get more in the future. And I have a couple really big, really expensive tattoos. So I know about the industry just as a fan, right? And I have a portrait on my leg, and it's my most expensive tattoo. And it's it's a color realistic / surrealistic portrait of Justin Bieber. I've talked about it before. But it's beautiful. Regardless of how you feel about Justin Bieber, it's a beautiful tattoo. It's a beautiful portrait. It took about 5 sessions, which, first of all, this was the first time I had met this artist when he did this tattoo. And he's done a lot of tattoos for me since. But what's it called when you put a down payment on a tattoo?
A deposit.
A down payment. The deposit for the tattoo was $100. And usually deposits on tattoos, I've had deposits that were $40, depends on the artist. That deposit goes towards your final price for the tattoo. So it's not money that you just lose. You get it back at the end, first of all. And it's never usually, in my experience, more than $100, maybe $150 depending on the artist, right? And again, it goes towards the tattoo. And then you pay for each session, and then at the end, your final session, it gets applied to that. My Justin Bieber portrait, all in all, took about 5 sessions. His rate was about $150 an hour. So all in all, my tattoo cost about $1,500. But that was for the sketch, and I got to change whatever I wanted. We designed it together. We talked about it together at no extra cost. Everything that I paid was for the actual work of the tattoo. So I can't imagine paying $1,500 just for the art that I don't really even have a say in, and then I don't have the tattoo in the end. That's just crazy to me.
And the fact that the sketch she provided, that's all it was. It was not lined. It was not colored in all the way. I'm going to pay $1,500, at least, if I'm willing to pay that, at least let me see the full finished, colors down my arm. Come on.
Right. And for the people who are not super aware of Tattoogate, if you're also late to the game talking about this or hearing about this, what happened was there was a woman who went to this tattoo artist that we're talking about, who has this crazy tier system where she'll make you a sketch for $1,500 to $4,500 depending on your quote-unquote package or whatever. She went to this artist and she asked for a full body fox tattoo with flowers in it, and she specifically wanted a full body fox, and she sent some references of these beautiful fox pictures that looked like they were kind of prancing through fields and whatever. And she paid the cheapest tier, which was $1,500. Again, that was the cheapest tier, for a sketch of a full body fox that she would then get tattooed. And the sketch that she was provided was basically just the head of a fox poking out of flowers. And like you said, there was no color in it. It was just a very rough sketch. And it was exposed later that I don't even want to call them an artist, but I will. This artist traced the sketch from somebody else's art of a fox poking their head out of flowers. How are you going to charge that much money and you're not even going to make an original drawing? How much effort does it really take? I used to trace all my art in high school when I wanted to be an artist for a second, and I just found stuff online and I traced it and I colored it in. And how long that took me? That took me 10 minutes. And with zero effort from myself, and no art, I was not artistic at all. That's why I couldn't draw. So I had to trace, and then I would just color it in. I basically made my own coloring pages is what I did. And she did exactly that, but charged someone an absorbent amount of money for it. Make that make sense.
And I don't think I or anybody else could make that make sense. And I heard people saying afterwards that the person who wanted this tattoo was admiring the work on her page, and people are saying the work on her page is not even hers.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing too. The reason this woman went to this artist to get this fox tattoo, which by the way, she didn't like the sketch, obviously, because it was not what she asked for. So when she asked to change it, the artist tried to charge her another $1,000 or something. I don't know. Tried to charge her another absorbent amount of money just to change the sketch, when the original one that she paid so much money for was not what she asked for. Like, if I'm giving you $1,500, you better be giving me the perfect image of exactly what I want. Like, nothing less, you know? But she didn't even do that. It's like she literally did not care. But again, yeah, the reason this woman went to this artist is because she saw the work on her page. And some of this work was either not her work, which is something that some lazy tattoo artists do, or ones that are like not so good yet, is they will steal art and be like, oh, this is the kind of work I do. It's not, but without mentioning that it's not actually their work. They just found other art that they like, and they're like, oh, I could do this, you know, and they kind of trick people into thinking that that's their work, when really it's just work they like and want to do. But who's to say if they actually can do it, you know? And the other work on her page, also at least a few other drawings I saw in my own TikTok research of this, were also traced images of other people's art. And it wasn't even that great. Like, the original art was better than what this tattoo artist was able to replicate by tracing. So I just really don't see the logic in charging this much money. And you're so much worse than legitimate artists who charge like a quarter as much money to do amazing work.
And then when those actual artists charge money, it's your tattoo cost. It's never for them to draw up the sketch for that amount of money.
I have never been to a tattoo artist that charged me for the sketch. The sketch is the tattoo. So why would they ever charge me separately for the drawing when I'm going to you for a tattoo? Like, that does not make, that's what the deposit is for.
Yeah, I had, I think, one artist charge me money to draw up the idea for me because I didn't have like a clear idea in mind. I mentioned an idea and they were like, okay, let's roll with it. I have like, you know, this little art fee, and it was like $40 or something. It wasn't $1,500. I'll say that.
Well, that's pretty fair because, like, if you're coming in with like a reference, that's a lot easier to like replicate, but in your own style, which is normally what we want artists to do, is like, hey, here's a reference of an image I really like. Can you create this in your own style, change these few things, blah, blah, blah. That's a nice, really clear image. But if you're going to an artist and you have kind of just like a general idea and you just kind of give them that and they have to literally build that from scratch, I understand paying a little bit extra for them to design that, but then obviously they'll probably let you change some things later at a no extra cost, because then you still are going to pay for the tattoo. So that makes sense. Like, paying $40 for someone to make something from scratch with no references, I get that, because that's a lot of work and that's using their artistic abilities. But then, you know, you still get the tattoo after that, and they don't say this or nothing, you know? You can still build on it later at no extra cost.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's some people in the tattoo industry who are just in it for the money? Like, I feel like that's what this artist is all about.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because real tattoo artists, real people who have the talent and the dedication to learn tattooing, because I'm learning right now, and it is absolutely not easy. There's a lot of financial setbacks, a lot of just learning setbacks in general, especially if the kind of action doesn't come naturally to you. That I cannot imagine somebody like that is not in it for anything but the money.
Yeah, and if you want to spend, like, if you want to charge that much for a sketch, why aren't you just a commission artist? Like, why are you a tattoo artist? Like, but even so, like, you have to complete a drawing. Like, you have to send me a complete drawing if I'm paying that much money. For $1,500, again, I want a huge canvas, like as big as a door. Like, you know, or like a statue or something. Like, I just can't imagine. But people like that, artists like that, again, from like watching other tattoo artists like responding to this, which, by the way, the woman in the video did get multiple offers from other tattoo artists to do the tattoo she wanted for free because she already lost so much money. So there are like really good artists out there, yeah, who were like, I'm gonna fix this, because this artist that she went to gave a lot of tattoo artists kind of a bad name. Like, artists like that make some people who are maybe not super into the industry think like, oh, all tattoo artists are just in it for the money, and they think so highly of themselves, and they just have these big ass egos and think that they could charge me $1,000 for this shitty ass sketch. Oh my god, all tattoo artists must be that way. But that's not true. And so even other tattoo artists were against this other one for that reason. Like, you're giving us a bad name by charging this money and making it so like impossible for just like the normal working person to get tattoos. Like, what's the point of being an artist if you're going to charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a tattoo to make it harder to get tattoos? Do you only want to tattoo rich people? Like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I get the tattoo artists who value their work very highly like that, and I'm talking about the real tattoo artists, not
Yeah.
whoever this bitch was. But I get it, I understand, but something that has always bothered me is tattoos not being super accessible to people who don't have a lot of, wiggle room in their income, not a lot of, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Disposable income. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
So that's going to be my biggest thing. If and when I get much better at tattooing, I want to be the kind of person who's going to, be a little bit more flexible on pricing, because tattoos are not only for the people who have thousands of dollars to drop on them.
Right. And accessible is a really good word for it. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's like, once tattoos are no longer accessible to the average person, then it's kind of like, what's the point anymore? And there will always be those artists who are just so amazing with their artwork, and they can take just like a general concept and make the most beautiful stuff, and huge bodysuits and back pieces and sleeves and stuff that, it makes sense to charge that much money. But when you get to kind of simpler stuff, there's also those artists who will do like a 2-inch tattoo and they're like, okay, it's $800. Like, how is that accessible for the normal working person? It's just not. Like, who do you think you are, honestly? Like, unless you're doing a whole arm.
It very much bothers me, because a lot of my tattoos came from somebody who was learning and got really good, but she knew me, and she knew I work at Petco. Like, I don't have a lot of, disposable income. So she worked with me on the pricing. And that's what I like this little guy in my hand, he was $30. And that's something that I specifically can afford, when the other artists at the shop that day, and God bless them, they're awesome, but their tattoo minimum was like $120. And I was like, sorry.
Right. And, for my artists, like, I'm very serious about the tattoos that I put on my body. Like, I love big, beautiful pieces. I have a couple small ones here and there, but mainly I love like the big, beautiful pieces. And so I know that that's going to be expensive. I know what my artist rates are. So I will specifically put money away to pay for it. But I don't have that much disposable income to pay for $1,500 tattoos like every year or so, so I would love to be covered in them. It's just not realistic for me. But I'm aware that if I want these tattoos, I have to pay for them. I could be covered in like little smaller ones if I wanted to. I just don't want to. But the problem is that just tattoos in certain areas and by certain people, no matter the size, no matter the subject matter, are becoming less and less accessible. And I'm not sure if that's because tattoos in general are becoming more widely accepted and widely popular. Because for the longest time, centuries even, I'd say, tattoos were like seen as kind of like a rebellion against like normal society. Like, if you had tattoos, you were a rebel. And many different cultures, even to this day, but specifically in the Western world, it's just become so much more common where people just have tattoos, like meaningless tattoos, or not meaningless, it doesn't really matter, but most people nowadays, have one, whether it's a small one or they're covered in it. And so it's becoming like a bigger and bigger industry, and you have all these people coming in just to like cash in on that and make it less accessible, and it's no longer that symbol of rebellion. It's just kind of like a thing people do that's just costing more and more money every day.
It's unfortunate in a lot of circumstances. I do like the fact that it has sort of taken away being the sort of social pariah-ness that it was before. Because like if you had a job and they were like, no visible tattoos, some places are still like that. One of my roommates works at a theme park, and he can't have any of his tattoos visible at all. He has to have them covered at all times. But in other places, they're like, yeah, sure, have a face tattoo. Have a hand tattoo. We don't care.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad to tattoos becoming more acceptable. It is great that like you can have more opportunities now than you might have before, but then there's that bad side of people like trying to take advantage of that, right? There's good and bad in everything, right? Not just tattoos, but that's just like the part that I don't like about it is when people try to take advantage of that. Like, just let tattoos be a thing, colored hair, piercings, let it be more accepted without trying to like cash in on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all my thoughts on Tattoogate. I just thought the whole thing was ridiculous, and I'm really glad that there are like good artists out there who are also calling out how ridiculous this was and like trying to fix it for this woman and some of the other clients, because a few other clients of this particular artist came out with like other experiences they had, like, oh, she charged me like $6,000 and I didn't even end up getting the tattoo, and the sketch was terrible and not what I asked for.
Oh,
and so and so a lot of very similar stories came out after this, and I'm just really glad that like this kind of thing in the industry is being exposed, and we still have these good people also in this industry who want to fix it. So at the end of the day, there was a positive outcome,
and thank God for that. Otherwise, that poor woman.
I know, right? Hopefully she's getting her tattoo soon if she hasn't already. I would love to see it. I'm definitely going to look out for that on TikTok or on my various tattoo YouTube channels. And we'll see what happens. Moving on. So I think that's all we probably have to say about that whole situation, unless you have something else to add.
No, we summed it up pretty good.
Yeah, I think we got our frustrations out on that one. Going back to us being coworkers, because we've mentioned it a little bit, where we work at a pet store. I think we already name dropped Petco. It doesn't matter. We work at Petco. And
don't worry, we're not going to talk crap about Petco. Don't worry, Petco CEO, we're fine.
Don't worry, it's fine. We like you. We have a good time working there. But yeah, like I'm a dog trainer there. You were a dog trainer there, and then now you work in the store. And then I work in the store when I'm not doing classes. Something that I think about a lot, and this is going to seem really random. I've brought this up to you before, but random for my audience. Sometimes. Okay, listen, I specifically build up my days to have class after class after class because I teach my dog training classes to the pet parents and their dogs. So it's not like a boarding facility where you train the dogs and then return them to their owners. It's all classes with the owners, right? And I try to build up my whole shifts with class after class after class. So I just have to do that. I don't have to go into the store and do store stuff because I don't like going on register. I don't like stocking things. I'm kind of okay with helping customers, but even then it's like Russian roulette, whether they're going to be rude to me or not. And I just don't want to like deal with that stuff. So I try to stay in the back doing my class as much as possible, but I can't do that all the time. So there's plenty of times where I'll be like stocking dog food or dog treats or like freshening up the aisles for like hours on end. And something that I think about a lot is if I were trapped in the store and I couldn't get out for some reason, I don't know, but I was trapped in the store for a long period of time and I needed to eat to survive, what would I eat first? That's like the most similar to like human food to survive on. And I always thought, or I guess you can phrase it as like if we were in the apocalypse and you were trapped in the store, I always just like in my scenario in my head, the store is like locked and closed for like a week for some reason, and I'm trapped in the store and I have to eat something. I always thought I would eat like anything that was similar to like beef jerky. Because jerky for dogs is pretty much just like jerky for humans, just like less seasoning. So I feel like that's what I would go for first. But what are your thoughts? Like, what would you eat to survive at the store?
I guess it depends on that situation. Like, I know the last time we talked about it, it was more like an apocalypse situation. Like, okay, I'm holed out in the store and I only have dog food, so what am I going to eat first? And then one of our managers hopped on the conversation, and he made a very good point in which I would eat all the perishables first, like the just food for dogs, like chicken and rice, or lamb and rice, or beef and potato. It wouldn't be that bad, and I'd have to get through it anyways, so I'd probably start there.
Right, yeah, I forgot about the whole perishables thing, because in my scenario where I'm just trapped in the store, the fridges still work, But in an,
Yeah.
in an apocalyptic scenario, we would probably have to save the jerky for last, even though that's probably going to taste the best. Because the Just Food for Dogs, for people who are not in the dog food industry, Just Food for Dogs is like actual like cooked food with nutrients in it that's frozen, and then you like thaw it out and give it to your dog, and it's like actual like, you know, chicken or beef or lamb and rice and veggies and stuff like that. So that would be good to eat. The only thing is like I would want it to be cooked, and in the apocalypse, if we don't have a way to cook it, we would just be eating like thawed out food. You know what I mean? And I feel like I would just like throw up, and that would be counterintuitive.
I mean, we could build like a little fire, get one of the hamster cages, cook it in that. We could warm it up probably.
If we were able to get fire, sure. But we're in a pet store. There's no like lighters or anything there. I guess we could use, well, I don't know, because if there's no electricity, I can't like use electricity to make fire. And there's absolutely no human food in the store, so there's really not much to go on. But you know what you know what there is there's a lot of like cat treats that's just like a piece of cooked chicken. I know you can't see it, but she's making a face right now. Because yeah, it's cooked chicken that's been on the shelf for months, but it's cooked chicken, you know, and at
Are you
least
talking about the loin?
yeah, like the chicken loin or something like that. I don't know. I would just be way too picky, even the apocalypse, and I would just eat all of the jerky. Like, I would eat all of it.
I just don't know what makes that chicken loin shelf stable, and it frightens me a little bit. It's like sitting in some kind of juice, and ugh.
It's like vacuum sealed in the juice, maybe. But I don't know how that chicken can be not refrigerated and still good. I don't know. I have yet to buy one for my cat, so I don't know.
I mean, like, I know people can chicken, like, I've seen people that, and it's completely shelf stable, but canning, you can do like sterile and like make it not disgusting. I just want to know what they do to the chicken in the bag.
Yeah, and they have like tuna and they have like other stuff too that I'm like, how is this not refrigerated? But whatever. We don't have to eat that one if you don't want to, okay? Because I don't know how long we're going to be held up in the store. There's definitely plenty of jerky. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we have to eat like the kibble. Hopefully not. I think we can ration
canned food before we did that.
Well, I would not. Again, I would throw up, and that would be counterintuitive if I had to eat canned dog food. I don't think so. Well, I guess it's dependent on how long the apocalypse lasts, which I guess forever? I don't know.
It depends on who you listen to, because some people, like the Walking Dead buffs, will be like, oh, but the real apocalypse would be over in like 60 days or some bullshit like that. I don't know. It actually technically would not last as long as The Walking Dead made it seem, apparently, according to science. But I'm not a scientist. I don't actually know.
Well, how do you measure the beginning and end of an apocalypse? I guess it depends why there's an apocalypse. Like, is it like a chemical nuclear war apocalypse? Is it a zombie apocalypse? Hopefully not, because I don't think I can defend myself from that one. But, like, did society fall? How long will it take for society to rebuild itself? There's so many questions. I just want to know how long I have to be held up in Petco, which, you know, wouldn't be the worst for like a couple of months, because I could sleep on the dog beds. There's like the filtered cat water and, I don't know, beta water maybe I could drink. I don't know.
I wouldn't. I've seen that get made. It's gross.
Okay, well, I could drink the cat water, the filtered kitten water. I'll drink that.
Delicious.
Yeah, and then depends on how many people I'm with, who I have to ration with. But I feel like I could survive in Petco for a good couple of months, right? It'll be sad being surrounded by all the little dead creatures. I would try to feed them as much as I can, because I'm probably not going to ever eat hamster food. So I think the hamsters will be okay. But
And the birds.
and the birds. Well, I don't know. Like, I'll eat the bird peanuts. Oh, I forget. There's a whole bird food section that has, like, nuts. So we could eat that.
I hate peanuts.
Okay, well, you can't be picky in the apocalypse, okay?
I can a little.
A little bit. But then once we're a few months down the line and all we have left is peanuts and sunflower seeds, we're going to have to eat those. I'll eat those first.
It's in the apocalypse scenario. Like, I know we've gone pretty far with this one, but whatever apocalypse scenario would definitely side that for me. Like, if it's Walking Dead, I'd probably tough it out for a little while. But if we're talking like The Last of Us, bye.
It depends on the kind of zombies that are taking over.
It does, though. They're so scary.
I would hope it wasn't a zombie apocalypse. I would hope that there was like a nuclear bomb that I survived or something like that. But then it's like, how is that apocalypse going to end? You know, like, how do you know when an apocalypse is over? You know, is the world just like that now or what? Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, for the nuclear one, I think the world is definitely just like that now, and we all go underground, I think.
Ooh, we turn into mole people. That'd be cool, like a post-apocalyptic future. That's cool. I've seen a lot of movies like that.
Because nuclear fallout is, we can't live in that, I don't think.
Well, if it's like a Chernobyl situation, then no. I'll live underground. I don't know. If someone else digs the hole, like I'll follow them. You know what I mean?
I won't dig it myself.
I can't build the society, but if someone else builds one, I'll join it, you know?
I might be able to.
That reminds me of the movie Downsizing. It's like 3 different movies meshed into one, but part of it is these people kind of like go underground and kind of live in this underground society. The whole premise of the movie is that like Matt Damon shrinks himself down to live in this tiny society where his money goes a lot further than when he's normal sized. But then there's this whole thing about like underground society. It gets really weird, but they go through this giant tunnel, and I'll go through the tunnel if someone else digs it. But speaking of post-apocalypse, have you seen the movie? I literally can't go one conversation without talking about movies, by the way. But have you seen the movie Repo, the Genetic Opera?
No.
You would love it. You should watch it. It takes place
I'm trying to branch out.
You should. I have a whole wall of movies. Come over one day and you could borrow as many as you want. Or we could just have like a movie day and we'll watch like 10 in a row, okay?
I'm like super into cartoons, but I'll give it a shot.
Movies are great. It's a whole new world when you get to movies. But Repo the Genetic Opera, it's a cult classic, so I'm not surprised that a lot of people haven't seen it because it is a cult movie, but the people who know about it tend to really love it. It takes place in 2050. And it's in a sort of post-apocalyptic world after a pandemic of like organ failures. So organ failure is just like really, really common. And so this whole like business booms stemming from like organ like replacement and like synthetic organs where people, you know, their organs fail and there's not enough to go around, so they just create synthetic better organs that can do more cool stuff. So it's kind of like a cyborg thing in a way. And so there's this whole company run by this guy and his kids who makes the organs and does the surgeries and whatever, and surgery becomes like a fashion statement. So like everybody's always getting elective surgery, which is kind of a thing now, but it's a little bit different, where people will get like a new face or new eyes or a new heart just because they can, you know. And not everybody can afford it. So this company, it's called GeneCo. This company will let you make payments and put your organs on a payment plan. But if you can't pay, the repo man will come and take your organs from you. So, which is pretty gory and crazy. Also, it's a musical. Yeah, no, it's like a really, really good movie. So it's about the repo man and like his daughter and like the people who run GeneCo. And the repo man, if you don't make payments, he will find you and he will literally rip the organs from your body to return them to GeneCo. So like the opening scene, he finds a guy who hasn't made his payments. He ties him up and he rips his spine out because he couldn't make payments on his spine. So that's what I generally think about when I think of post-apocalyptic.
That's a very interesting concept.
Well, you know, I watched that movie right when COVID started, and I was like, yeah, I feel like this is where we're heading. So far, it's not. So far, COVID has gotten better than it was like 2 years ago. Yeah. Well, better. I feel like it's a little bit better than it was 2 years ago because not as many people have died in the past year as compared to the beginning. And we have a vaccine now and better treatments. And, you know, the strains aren't as bad anymore because of said vaccines and whatever. So luckily we did not go down the path of that led us to Repo the Genetic Opera. but I am fully prepared for if we do, because I love that movie and I know exactly how to survive. Just, make your payments, I guess. I don't know.
It seems like a future we're not that far away from, but anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, well, based on the timeline of that movie, we're only a little over 25 years off. So, because it takes place in 2050. I know. But I really love the aesthetic of post-apocalyptic society. Like, everybody just, like, dresses crazy and everything looks all grunge, So, low-key, I'm a little bit excited to live in the post-apocalypse if I survive.
If I survive.
Hopefully I will, so that I can live in that society, because it seems like dope and cool.
I mean, I used to be a chronic role player online for my middle and high school years. I still do, but now all my role play buddies have just died or vanished or whatever. And almost all of our scenarios were post-apocalyptic worlds.
Wow, that's funny. I used to role play in high school as well, but I would role play as different movie characters. For people,
I did that too.
Yeah, for people who were interested in those movie characters. Like, there's this movie called Jupiter Ascending, which nobody liked except for me, and a few other people. And it's by the Wachowskis, so like the people who made The Matrix. So it's weird that it wasn't good in the eyes of critics, but I liked it. Anyway, stars Mila Kunis, Channing Tatum. And the main villain is this alien guy. His name is Belem Abrasix, and he's played by Eddie Redmayne, who I love. And so for the longest time, I, like, role-played as him to, like, all these women on Tumblr who had a crush on him. So I was just, like, helping them fill out their fantasies really over Tumblr, which is kind of, like, cringe for me to admit, but...
Oh, it's not as bad as what I could admit right now.
Oh, please tell me your secrets.
So, you remember... I think it was around 2018, 2019 when Hamilton was really popular.
Oh, no. Yes.
I met my still longest standing girlfriend, who we're broken up now, but I dated her for 1.5 years. She's my longest relationship ever. I met her in a Hamilton roleplay chat, and it was a post-apocalyptic zombie AU Hamilton roleplay chat.
Who did you roleplay as?
All the good characters were taken, so I roleplayed as someone named Eker.
Who is that?
Wait. Oh, it's the one. I think it's the one who has a duel with Hamilton's kid.
Oh, the random person who nobody cares about?
Yeah. I also got my hands on Eliza because the person who roleplayed her left the chat, and so I took her character and then I brutally killed her a day later.
Great. Awesome. I love that. Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
I can't listen to it anymore. I cringe. Ooh, it's terrible. It's just awful.
Yeah, that's so embarrassing. It's okay. I did really embarrassing stuff too. There was that Jupiter Ascending one, and I also roleplayed as the brother to Belem Abrasix. I forget what his name was, but he's played by this actor Douglas Booth, who's really hot. So I also roleplayed as him because there was, like, people who had a huge crush on him, and so I would let them, like, just live out their romantic fantasies with me over Tumblr. And then I got a it was like a chatting thing, like some chatting app. I forget what it was called.
Kick?
It was Kick. Ah!
That's where mine was.
Oh my god. Kick has been deleted for years. I had the worst experience on Kick. So here's what happened. So I started role-playing with people over Kick. Like, all my Tumblr people, I couldn't keep up with it on Tumblr. So I was like, just do it on Kick. Because I did the Jupiter Ascending roleplay, which was super popular with a lot of people. And then I also did Owen Grady, who is Chris Pratt's character in Jurassic World. When the first Jurassic World came out, because I really liked that movie. So I roleplayed as him for a while as well. And I did all this on Kick. And I was role-playing, like, with this, like, Swedish kid. He wanted me to play like his mother, who was Belema Brassick's wife. So I was like, yeah, I'll roleplay as his wife, like not really thinking about that I'm roleplaying as this kid's mom. I was like 17 at the time. And this kid was, I may have been freshly 18 because I stopped doing this like a few months into my first year of college when I was like, this is stupid, I'm gonna stop. And this kid was, I think he was like 16 and he lived in like Sweden or something, or Italy, I don't know. So one time he asked to Skype. And I don't know why I said yes, but I did. So I Skyped with this random kid I had been role-playing with on Kick. And I did make a friend through role-playing who I like still follow like on social media to this day. So it's not all bad. I made one friend. But mostly it was just really like embarrassing and dumb. And I met this kid and we were Skyping one time. And you know what? At this point, I'm wrong. It wasn't Belema Brassick's. It was Kylo Ren. Because I also role-played as Kylo Ren. I know. I completely blocked it out. I forgot that I also did Star Wars roleplay. So I was roleplaying as Kylo Ren's wife, which I was in love with him, so I was totally fine with that. But also this kid's like mom. So he was roleplaying that Kylo Ren was like his stepdad or whatever. So we were roleplaying this scenario and then we Skyped because he wanted to Skype with me. And I was like showing him my like Kylo Ren action figure and whatever. And we were just talking about Star Wars. And like that was it. It was like innocent kids liking Star Wars stuff. And so then we hung up and then over Kick, he said, on Skype, you looked fat. Are you fat? And I said, I guess, but like I don't really want people to like point that out. Like I'm actually very self-conscious about how chubby I am. And he was like, I like fat girls. Can you like show me your boobs? And I was like, fuck off.
No.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like I'm just trying to innocently talk about Star Wars. And you're like, you're fat. Can you show me your tits? And I deleted Kick and I never roleplayed again.
Oh my God. Oh my God. See, I was involved in so many roleplay groups, but I only got groomed from one of them, so it was fine.
I had a really good track record. I only got groomed once, so.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well,
it was like stupid anime. What was it called? Fairy Tale. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I don't watch anime really.
I was super into it once upon a time. I hate it now, but it was this roleplay chat based off of the anime Fairy Tale. And we all had our little guilds, and I was like 14, and this 26-year-old man DM'd me and started like privately role-playing with me. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Somebody who's paying attention to me. It went downhill from there.
Well, that's interesting because as far as I knew, everyone I role played with was either my age or younger. So luckily I never had that where it was like older guys. The only time I was ever like flirted with by an older guy was in person when I went to Santa Cruz once when I was 16. I met this like 25-year-old on a ride. And he like asked to sit with me and I said, yeah. And it was like a fast ride. So he held my hand throughout the ride and then afterwards asked me for my number. And I was like, sure, because that's like the one and only time that's ever happened to me. And then later I was like, how old are you? He was like 25. And my mom's like, you need to stop talking to him right now. But me at 16 was like, no, like he likes me and he's cute. I know, but we talked for a couple days. And then I kind of realized like, yeah, 25 is too old for me. And we stopped talking. But I was still friends with that guy on Facebook for a long time. And he got married like a few months after that. So, yeah. That's the only time that's really happened to me.
There was this guy at our work. And it was before you got hired. It was when I was still an aquatics person. So this is like back in the day.
Yeah.
And I was trying my whole be girly and straight phase. So this guy, he's getting stuff for a saltwater tank. And I'm helping him. And at the end of our whole little interaction, he's like, actually, can I get your number? I want to take you out on a date. And I was like, sure. So I stupidly gave it to this man because from what I could tell, he was like, I don't know, mid-20s, early 20s maybe. And so then we're texting when I get home and I'm like, oh, by the way, how old are you? Not that I'm a minor or anything. I'm just curious. And he said he was 32 years old.
Gross. But also like... Also, like, don't ask people out at their job because they're at their job and they have to be nice to you. It doesn't mean that they like you. And if you ask somebody out, you're putting them in a really weird position where they either want to say yes because they want to be nice because, again, they're at their job, which is like a service job, or like they want to say no but feel like they can't because they don't want you to think that they're rude and have you, like, you know, complain about them. You know, it's just really uncomfortable. So, like, don't ever do that.
Yeah, not only that, but just stop targeting women in our most vulnerable places. They don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, literally, like, if you see a woman and she's at her job, just, like, let her do her job. Like, you don't be weird about it. Like, literally, it's not hard. Just don't be weird about it.
It really isn't.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had any, like, weird customer interactions like that. I mean, I met a lot of weird people, but yeah, not like that. But I'm glad you're out of your, like, straight woman phase because that really doesn't seem like you.
It took me a long time to be okay with the fact that I am not attracted to men in any capacity because I fought it for a really long time. But I am very okay with it now. Just okay. I'll get better.
Good for you. I wish you much luck on your continued journey of queerness. Okay, well, that's mainly all the stuff I wanted to talk about today. So, Adora, do you have any last thoughts? Anything you got going on? Anything you'd like to plug for the audience? Whatever you'd like to say, the floor is yours for the ending.
Kind of a niche subject, but I still do run a role play if anybody's interested because I have absolutely no one interested. It's like a teenager thing and I'm a grown adult. I just think it's fun.
Right. Don't be ashamed of your passions.
Oh, and I do tattoos.
Oh, and yes, Adora does tattoos. I'll plug your Instagram in the description. I'll do your tattoo Instagram on there too. So if anybody is interested in letting Adora use you to practice tattoos, definitely check out her Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for being on my podcast, Adora. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll get to have you back on in the future. I had a really good time talking to you.
Yeah, same. I'd be happy to come on any other time you want me.
Perfect. I always want you.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, well, that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.